everybody. How are we doing today? Are we well? Can we hear me? We cannot hear me. Yes, we can. What's up, Chip? Hello, Brett. Neil Smith, well, how you doing? Pia. Who else is here? Benji, hey, how you doing? And Carrie's here. Nice to see you. It's been a while. And Martin is here as well. Gosh, you guys talked a lot. And Tone, I think. And a few people left some bacon doughs on the stream before it started. And so we have quite a few hyper bacon doughs in the chat. Hello, heretic vegan heretic, sorry. I don't know why I mixed those up. Yeah, so quite a few hyper bacon doughs before the stream started, but they don't seem to be here. If you are, let me know. Say hi. Hello, hello. Let me see, which one can I use? Right. There you go, I think. Split screen. Today, I was thinking I'm going to do something a little different. And by a little different, I mean, this was the original idea for my channel before I opened it, before I started it. The original idea was that I wanted to make meat eaters realize just how gross animal production is. Right. So today we're going to go through why and how animal products are gross. I have about 29 examples, and I'm sure my chat will go find quite a few more that I'm either unaware of or definitely forgot, because there are way too many things. Yeah, we'll see how it goes, right? Nothing to fear, but fear itself. But if some of you are sensitive to carcasses and stuff, maybe don't watch this one, but just listen to it or skip it entirely, because there are going to be a few, not so graphic, but a few uncomfortable images, you know? Very few, though, I think. I hope. I have no idea. It's really up to you how you react to things, I think. Right, so here are the few examples. Now, the thing that I want to talk about here is the physical ick, right? But I'll be doing a disservice to my channel and its meaning today if I didn't mention ethics just a little bit, right? So animals are sentient beings having a subjective experience and contributing to their slaughter for unnecessary stuff especially is an insane position to hold, especially since most people do have an aversion to violence towards animals. Hello, Liduli. Hello, Vegan Gaze. What's up? Hello, Derek. Credit where credit is due. Those pictures are from We Animals. It's a site where you can find the pictures of farmed animals from all over the world. You can use those pictures for free, but make sure to give them credit. I'm gonna low-key, I'm gonna put the link in the chat in case you need something like that. And Vegan Gaze gave me this site, so let's spread it around for all the activists to use. All right. Be careful, Derek. Don't dox yourself. Says BPM, who dox themselves all the time. All right. So, but let's begin with the physically gross stuff, right? So one of the things that, and those things might be grossing me out, but not necessarily grossing you out, and that's fine. All I can do is speak for myself in this case. So it really grosses me out, kind of, that animals slide out of the birth canal in order to end up on our plates, right? It all begins with the process of birth, and those animals grow in the womb, and then they slide out of animal vaginas, and then the process of exploiting and slaughtering and like building up towards slaughter of those animals begins. I find that gross. Another one thing that I find gross is that about 40% of animals in the beef industry are the moms that go through this process who birth animals in order for those to be exploited and slaughtered. So 40% of the beef production are just like these sentient wombs that are responsible, that are being impregnated, and in order to produce non-plant food, right? In case of broiler chickens, about 5% of the industry are parent stock. That's the official name of it, parent stock. And in the egg industry, about 2% are fertile laying hens. And in dairy, obviously 75% of dairy individuals are going to be mothers birthing animals through their birthing canal, pushing animals out of their vaginas. And a lot of our food, not ours, but like a lot of animal food production is predicated on that, predicated on animals sliding out of vaginas of other animals. Speaking of artificial insemination, pretty fucking gross, not only ethically, but also physically. In case of cows, an entire arm is pushed into their asses, and then where shit is, obviously. And that person getting very close and personal, that farmer is getting very close and personal with the asshole and the vagina of that animal. Then a metal rod filled with semen is put into the vagina to reach the cervix. So the farmer is holding the cervix in place through the shit canal in order to insert sperm into the vaginal canal, into those areas. So ethically, it's gross. We know why. If this was done to human people, we would call that a very specific word. Us vegans call that very specific word anyways, because I don't know how this isn't that specific R word. And pigs are impregnated with artificially as well, with semen being stuck into their vaginas, with their clitorises then being played with in order to increase the chances of it taking, right? So they manually arouse the animals in order for this to take. Goats, sheep are impregnated in the same way, and even chickens. Chickens have semen put into their cloacas in order to fertilize their eggs. Another disgusting thing, gross thing, is that dairy cows often lactate while pregnant, and hormones like estrogen and progesterone end up in the milk. Drinking hormones, I don't know if that's a good idea, but I think it's kind of gross on a physiological level, on a like biological level, that you have an animal producing hormones and those end up in food. I don't know. Maybe I'm one of those overthinkers. Hey, hello, Bianca. What's up? Hello, Fly Sensei. Maybe I'm one of those overthinkers. Maybe I just like procedurally think about every single thing, how it goes. But that's like gross to me. That the glands of this mother secrete hormones, and those hormones end up in food. So another thing that I didn't know until today is that dairy milk has skin cells in it from inside the udder. So since the production of milk happens in the udder, and then they are mechanically milked, the dead cells on the inside of the udder just go into milk with the somatic cells. That's not the somatic cells, but somatic cells go with it as well. Milk stone is another thing that I didn't know about until today. So this milk stone has to be scraped off the inside of the milking machines. It's basically like biofilms of bacteria and fats and mineral crust buildup. All of that gets stuck in the milking equipment. And it's called stoned because it's sedentary. And it just like harbors a bunch of pathogens. So once in a while, they have to clean off that thing by aggressively dissolving acid. And it's like one of those questions, again, I'm probably overthinking it. It's one of those things that I'm like imagining, okay, what if I had the milk that was milked out of the teat, like the last one before the machine was aggressively cleaned? Again, I'm probably overthinking it, but it's one of those things that truly makes me a little grossed out, a little gross. Hey, what's up, DLTN? Oh, I forgot my coffee. Shit. I'll just drink some water. So another thing about the dairy industry is in every glass of milk, there are dozens, up to 50, depending on the production scale, up to 50 contributions of dairy cows. So something about that is, you know, it's kind of gross, right? Because I'm thinking, well, you have like a, I don't know, human mother who gives milk to their child, right? And like, imagine, I don't know, that milk was somehow had like 50 moms pumping into it. Something about that just feels unsanitary to me. Obviously, on the ethical level, it's gross in itself, but on the physiological level, it's kind of disgusting. So all the cows are milked into the same tanker. So all of those cows that are milked here, everything flows into one tanker, right? Or two tankers in this case, in this picture. And those tankers go into a processing plant where they're combined from several farms into the same pool. So I don't know, something about just having 50 types of different individual DNA going into one glass of milk it kind of turns my stomach. So we moved on to meat facts. Factoids, I guess. So meat contains cysts and tumors. I think people generally know about this, right? But every time I even think about it, kind of grosses me out. Just kind of reminds me of, in my line of work, I happen to see stuff. And the most terrible thing I've ever seen that turned my stomach was a very diseased organ was taken out of somebody and taken into pathology. And when that pathologist cut that organ up, pus just oozed out of it. And there's a reason that quite a few of the pathologists are vegetarian. There is a reason for that. And so that experience with the general grossness of cysts. Cysts, by the way, is just like clumps of pus, right? That sometimes grow in the body. And something about that being part of the food production is kind of gross to me. Now, with tumors, the thing is like kind of different, right? You're not gonna like contract anything serious if you eat a tumor. But again, we're dealing with like something that like just physiologically makes me and again, seen way too many tumors, especially tumors in colon, for that to be like, in my mind, a totally normal part of food production, right? It's just a little gross, to say the least. So muscle meat sometimes contains parasites. That's what it looks like. That's just like larvae, I guess. They're not like fully fledged yet. I think this is it's a pretty big piece. Butchers cut it out sometimes, right? The same with cysts and tumors, if they're big enough, if they are just happen to be on the knife, on where you cut the carcass open, like where you cut the carcass off, right, of another part, right? It just happens if the like cysts are big enough, if tumors are big enough, and you just happen to cut into it, then those things are removed for you, right, in the butcher's shop or in the butcher in the processing plant. Same with parasites. Most of the time it's going to be cut out if they find it, right? But sometimes they don't find it, and you end up this ends up in people's dinners. So this happens to pig meat, fish meat, and game meat. So like hunted wild animals who will shot in the lungs for unnecessary food, just to remind everybody. Moving on, so meat aging is just like literally decomposition, so it's like literally rot, right? So they leave meat in a controlled environment. Obviously, if they did it in an uncontrolled environment, it would just become like fully rotted and inedible. But like they leave meat for 30 to 120 days to develop enzymes that soften the meat and change the muscle composition and the flavor of it, I suppose, if you ever put that kind of thing in your mouth. And the outside of the meat develops mold, right? And they cut it off, they trim it off before selling it. But those mold spores are still going to be there. And, you know, the meat has rotted at this point. Another factoid about meat is that it's electrically stimulated before being cut up and sold. So a carcass is zapped to change the muscle biology. And they do this for several reasons. The two that I pointed out here is to speed up rigor mortis. I don't know why they want to speed up rigor mortis. Haven't checked. And to change the color of the meat, right? So meat goes generally like brown after it's cut up because it oxidizes on the outside. But giving it a mild electrocution keeps it more red-looking kind of situation. And this is, by the way, the electrocution, I think, is not considered like an intervention that would warrant like a label. I think like whatever they call the carcass fresh, I think that could be electrocuted. So, you know, like there are other ways to keep the meat red. And that's like one of the ways that is not going to be like on the label, I guess. So this just like obviously ethically disgusting towards the animal. Physically is weird, right? That you electrocute a carcass. It also, I don't know, something about this just like feels like fraud, right? Towards people who buy this shit. What's up, Nilf? It just feels like people are being duped. They're not presented with things the way they are, right? Ground meat is also a bacterial playground. So because ground meat is usually like trimmings of various cuts, right? And you know, the trimmings, they're like small pieces and fats and stuff, right? And we'll get there. So the outside of the piece is gonna be covered with some bacterial stuff, right? And when you have like a lot of small pieces and you ground them up, it just like mixes in the bacteria into much smaller pieces and spaces, right? So ground up meat becomes this like bacterial playground. You know, I don't know how else to say it, right? Because the surface area is much bigger now because the pieces are like smaller, and because all the bacteria was mixed into it, all the bacteria that was on the surface that could have been, I don't know, cooked up, it's now all over the thing, right? Next one is a similar factor to what we already did with dairy. And that is that a single 1 pound package of ground beef can contain meat from dozens to hundreds of cows. And in some cases, like when it's like uber big production, like uber, what do you call it? Big size, I don't know. So sometimes it's like even thousands. For the same reason, right? Ground beef is meat trimmings. So they trim stuff off the bone, they trim stuff that doesn't look the best on like the premiere cuts or whatever the fuck. And and they pile all that stuff together and grind it up. Sometimes with a little bit of bone in there as well. A lot of times with quite a lot of skin. And it could be that a single pound package can have dozens to possibly 1,000 strains of DNA, individual cow DNA in them. I can't put my finger on why it's physically gross to me. Ethically obvious is obvious, but physically it's just like, you know what I mean? It's a little, okay, all right. Hey, what's up, Dave? We're moving on to eggs. So a store-bought egg will occasionally contain a small spot of blood in it. And this happens when the chicken bursts like blood vessels on their ovary. And so a little bit of blood goes into the egg, right? As a meat eater, I don't know if I had the issue with the concept of blood that much. But today, again, just because of my job and because of my veganism, I suppose, this is just like kind of gross to me, because I again just like see the whole procedure of it, and something about this much strain causing like blood vessels to pop, and then from that procedure food comes out, is just like a little gross to me. So speaking of, cloaca food is butt food, right? So a cloaca is where the egg comes out. It just happens to be that in chickens, that's the same space from which shit and piss come out, right? It's the same canal, birth canal. It's a birth canal, and it's a end of the colon, right? It's the shit canal, and it's the piss canal. And that's the environment from which food comes from. And I just find that disgusting. You know? Yeah, it's ass food, it's butt food, and that's just like fucking disgusting to me. Oh, I didn't put in the most important thing, right? That this is like an actual ova, right? So it's a chicken period. So it's basically like menses. It's chicken menses. And that's also kind of, I don't know, disgusting to me, especially since people who eat eggs, it's like, I don't know why it adds to like the ick factor, but like, it's not like they're familiar with the chicken. That just adds to the ick factor. That's where it ends, right? That's where it like, that's like the extra on top. It's like something about like not even knowing where the period came from. And you just like eat that. Something about that total separation is just not, I'm actually holding the gag back. Not gonna lie. So a little bit of humane washing dispelment, right? So free-range hens can still have necrotic toes, prolapses, that's cloaca prolapses, and mites. So all of that happens in a production of free-range eggs. And again, this is like just one of the chinks, well, the main chink of animal food production where mites are just like can be rampant, and where things like, you know, when a sentient living being has, like an animal specifically, has necrosis in the toes, that's gonna affect the entire body, right? That's gonna change a bunch of stuff in the body, including their baby maker area. It's just like necrotic components physiologically, just something gonna happen there, right? There's a reason that when in a hospital somebody has necrosis, it's cut off fast, right? If you ever get, God, Jesus, I hope never, right? None of you. But if somebody has necrosis and they get to the hospital, that limb that has necrosis in it is going to be cut off, because otherwise necrosis spreads. That's just like a physiological fact. And if those animals are not caught, and I don't know how they would be, because there would be only a couple of workers on a barn full of 25,000 chickens, right? There would be like 3, 4, 5 workers there. How would they catch that an animal has necrotic toes, right? That shit's gonna hit the bloodstream of the chicken. And chicken's gonna die relatively fast, I think, because they're like small creatures. But not until they're gonna pop up a few eggs out, which are gonna hit the shelves. Right, so something about all of that just makes me gag. Not gonna lie. Fish flesh, we moved on to fish. It actually decomposes really fast. If you were wondering why fish smell so bad when uncooked, and frankly when cooked as well, it's because the second they stop breathing, their body immediately starts decomposing. Maybe because of the size, maybe it's because they live in water, generally speaking, right? And you take them out of that low oxygen environment and you put them in a high oxygen environment, right? When you kill them out in the air. That's my hypothesis. I don't know if that's true. Yeah, they just like decompose really fucking fast the second they die, right? That's the fishy smell. It says it's microbial breakdown of the tissue, yeah? So literal rot again. Sushi parasites apparently are very common. So fish for sushi must be frozen because there are like living worms in there, parasites. You freeze them and you hope that the parasites die, right? So otherwise it says if you not flash freeze fish, living worms would like frequently be found wiggling in raw servings. So you put a lot of, if you eat sushi fish, you put a lot of trust in the people who prepare this stuff to you, for you. So I don't know if that trust is founded, because if it says that parasites are found in fish, once in a while I just need a break to... So if we know this, that means that this actually happens, is what I'm saying, right? Another factoid about fish, especially farmed fish, is that they live in water very high in feces and urine. So in an ocean or a river, obviously fish poop and urinate, obviously, like all animals, I think. Do bugs urinate? I don't know. They must secrete something, right? That's just like part of being an animal. Some kind of a secretion of waste happens. So yeah, blood. Yeah, thank you. I didn't add blood here. That's true. So blood, feces, and urine in this water, that is like, it's not changed often, right? Or at all, I think, once they put the fish in there. That's where those fish are gonna be growing in immense amount of like a lot of fish in a relatively small pond. Especially as they grow, they fill up the pond, and they just like shit and piss every day. They get hurt and they spill blood in there, and that's where they grow their entire life. That's the water they drink, right? That's the water that circulates through their body. That's how they get their nutrients, right? Where they're fed in that water. The shit and piss and blood, it goes with the nutrients, right? With the food. And because it's like a closed system, it can't run off, right? It just like stays in this pool. And I don't know, something about shit and piss being part of the food production just like irks me, just like is unpleasant to me. It's just a little bit disgusting, is all I'm saying. We're now to processed meats, right? Used to love processed meats. Low-key, one of the reasons that it took me so long to go vegan is because I was addicted to this kind of shit, right? So lunch meats apparently are covered with biofilm. You know, like sometimes every single slice has like a bit of a slippery coating on it. Well, that's a layer of bacterial discharge. Bacteria live on the lunch meat, and they secrete like every other creature, right? They secrete stuff, and that's the slime that is on top of the lunch meats. Sometimes bacon has nipples. So because pigs that are raised for slaughter, they're going to be, just like a matter of biology, about 50% female, right? And females have nipples, just like true of any mammal. And in case of pigs, I think it's like 8 nipples, I think. Something like that, 8 or 10, something like that, right? And generally speaking, when pigs are slaughtered, right, this kind of stuff is going to be cared for you in the processing plant. They're going to take care of that for you so that you don't see this thing that is very similar to the thing that you yourself have. They don't want to put you off your dinner, right? So they're going to, generally speaking, cut off the nipples. But, when you produce 1,000, process, quote unquote, 1,000 animals a day on a process plant, you're going to miss once in a while, and a nipple is going to end up on your bacon, right? That's just something about that. I think it's the proximity thing, right? Because every human being has nipples, generally speaking. Something about that just like reminds us that pigs are not very dissimilar to us, right? That's the thing that I think I find disgusting about nipples on bacon. I will get my coffee in a second. I will abandon you in a second to get my coffee because I'm getting parched in a way that only coffee can subside. Processed meat, we're again in the processed meat, may contain iridescent meat. So beef can turn green or iridescent due to bacterial growth and oxidation. And some of those spoiled cuts will still be blended into processed meat. So they again just end up in your food. And in case of processed meats, some of them are actually eaten raw, right? I don't know, something about bacterial growth is just irks me. Call me irrationally bacteriophobic. But generally speaking, you can in case of processed meats, you also can't really wash it off the way you can with contaminated vegetables, for instance, right? So something in my mostly past bacteriophobe just grosses me out. It just grosses me out. Not gonna lie. I'm just like screaming at past self. Why did you like all of that shit? And the most importantly, again, it's one of those things that just like screams just betrayal from the people who make your food, and you trust them and they do this kind of shit, right? Something about that is just like fraud, betrayal. Another gross factoid that I found out some people just don't know, right? This happened lately. I was talking to a person, and I think they were offering me some kind of a gelatinous thing that ended up being actually vegan. But I wasn't sure at that moment. And I said, thank you very much, but I'm vegan. I don't eat gelatin. So I don't know if this is a gelatin or a carrageenan type of situation. Ended up being carrageenan. And they were like, "What? What's not vegan about gelatin?" And I was like, "Oh, you know, it's like bones, tendons, snouts, hides, and boiled skin. That's gelatin." And that's kind of, I don't know, even without the ethical repercussions, that's just kind of gross to me. That's just fucking kind of gross. That all of that stuff becomes this innocent thing that we feed to children and adults, right? Maybe I'm on my own here. Maybe it's just me. I've said from the beginning, I'm just putting in things that I find gross, right? And I think maybe other people would too. Freeze-dried slaughterhouse blood is fed to farmed animals. This is something I've known for a while. I did a video on this as well. So one of the biggest byproducts of slaughterhouses is obviously blood. Literal thousands, if not tens of thousands of liters of it a day is spilled. I think how much human beings have like about 5 to 7 liters of blood in their body. Cow, generally speaking, 10 times more. Anything, right? They're generally speaking 10 times bigger than us, for instance. And so in case of every cow that you slaughter, you might be spilling 50 liters of blood there, right? I think, right? Fix my mistake if I'm incorrect in my account. Maybe like a lot of it still stays in the body somehow, but generally speaking, they're bled, right? So that to remove the biggest pathogen in the body, and that is blood that circulates and just like moves everything, bacteria, nutrients, everything around, right? So that's why blood is drained, to remove a pathogen. And so you have many liters of this pathogenic liquid that is freeze-dried or just like spray-dried sometimes, eliminating the pathogen probably, right? And then that is fed to other animals. So for instance, generally pig blood is fed to dairy calves. So calves are obviously, taken away from the dairy cows so that they don't drink the milk. The milk is the product, right? So you can't have like an animal drink the product willy-nilly. So they are fed milk replacers, and those quite often have spray-dried or freeze-dried blood in them. They also feed it to piglets, both or when they're small and even to finish them off, so closest to slaughter. To broiler chickens, They feed that as like a protein replacer, right? So protein, high protein thing, food, supplement, I suppose. And to turkeys, and to farmed fish, and to fur animals like minks and foxes. And a lot of it also ends up in the pet food, right? So cat and dog food. So I don't know, call me weird, something about slaughter blood spilled in masses, tens of thousands of liters per day. Something about like, I'm probably like imagining this vat full of blood, right? And something about that is just like incredibly gross to me, that then becomes food for animals, you know? It just grosses me out. Don't know what to tell you. Doesn't gross you out, good for you. It grosses me out. Other slaughterhouse leftovers that get into animal feed, including pet food, obviously, is chicken feathers, boiled chicken feathers, right? Because that's how chicken feathers are removed from slaughterhouses. Bones as well, right? Some of that goes to gelatin, but how much gelatin can you create? So they ground that shit up into animal feed. And the biggest one, the irkiest one, I don't know why, can't explain it. Listen, grossness is sometimes something that you can't like rationalize about, right? You can't explain. Something about fat trimmings going into food, back into animals, farmed animals and pets. Something about specifically fat that really, really takes me out. I just find it gross, right? Sometimes animals are fed shit, literal shit, actual shit. So, for instance, the chicken industry, right? This is the type of format that we've seen a lot, right? So chickens are in cages, and they shit. Obviously, all animals shit, and then the shit falls on the trays on the bottom. And there is something you have to know about shit production in animal agriculture. First of all, by weight, any animal agriculture, they produce more shit than the actual product, plus the actual byproducts. So, for instance, the egg laying production that is depicted here produces more shit by weight than it produces eggs, right? So that's a lot of shit that is being produced. And generally speaking, farmers have to dispose of that shit somehow. They can't just throw it in a bin. The huge amounts of it, the ammonia, the methane, all of that stuff, right? They have to dispose of it. So they try to find a way to put it in anything. For instance, feed to other animals, right? So they, again, dry it in order to eliminate pathogens. And then they feed it to pigs, sometimes to cows, definitely to fish, definitely there. And whatever they can't dispose of, whatever they can't sell, they actually have to pay for disposal of. So they have like a really high intensive to sell that stuff, right? Yeah, so it just like ends up back in the feed of animal production. And something about that is just disgusting to me. Almost in the same way that it's disgusting to me that some of this shit ends up on the soil that grows my veggies. That's generally speaking why I would prefer conventional food, like veggie production, rather than organic veggie production. I just I just want as little shit as possible on my fucking food. You know what I mean? I might be weird. I'm just weird. You know? Just happens to be. What's up, Axel? Others and dicks also go into pet food. So, you know, when cows, dairy cows, beef cows are slaughtered, there are others, the vaginas. I didn't add it in here because I talked about vaginas enough at the beginning of this stream. And their dicks are being cut off. And all of those things go into pet food, right? So when you buy kibble for your dog or cat, it's a lot of it is like other than dicks. Pus pockets go into that as well. Scarred or torn tissue, so tissue that you can't sell to human beings. Inflamed quarters, and like dead sections, like called the blind teats. So dead sections of flesh, basically flesh that no longer haven't been having blood circulation for a while, right? So all of that ends into pet food with the bones, the feathers, and the blood. The worst of the worst, like the scrapes of the slaughterhouse floor. And something about that is disgusting, right? You love your pet as if they were family, right? So you want to feed them all of this crap. I don't know. Just to me, that's disgusting. This is just like shit that belongs in a burial, you know? I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Okay. Is this the end? Oh, I'm reaching the end. I've done this quickly. Awesome. So this is the last one. There is still one of those fraud situations that is just like fine, disgusting, but not in a necessarily, also in a biological way, but not necessarily just in a biological way, right? Something about the consumers are being presented with fraudulent product, quote unquote, right? So pumping solutions are being pumped into pig meat, right? And the chickens are chilled in those like vats that are affectionately called poop soup, right? Or fecal soup. And part of the reason why that is done is to increase the weight. So a slaughterhouse gets animals a certain weight from the farmer, slaughters them, and then manipulates those carcasses so that they can sell it for more money without increasing the amount of actual product, quote unquote, that they give to the customer. I don't know. Something about that just feels fraudulent. But maybe I'm just like fucking weird. Right. Did I forget anything? Is poop soup high in protein? Oh, shit has protein, right? So, God damn it. You got me that, PJ. You got me that. Sorry for ignoring the chat. I just wanted to get through the presentation without getting too much away from it. So, I don't know, maybe for those who just piled in, just let's go through it one more time, just quickly. So the things that I find gross is, first of all, the ethical horrendousness of exploiting and slaughtering animals for definitely unnecessary stuff. The fact that animals slide out of the birth canal, just disgusting to me. The fact that like 40% of the beef industry is actually just like those animals who slide food out of their birth canals, that's just disgusting to me on a different level, on a big level, right? The artificial insemination is disgusting to me, not only the process of it, but the idea behind it as well, right? The lack of consent, the lack of ability to give consent. We call that a certain word, which is disgusting. The fact that dairy cows often lactate while pregnant, spilling hormones into the milk. The fact that dairy milk has like dead skin cells from the inside of the udder. That's disgusting to me. Milk stone buildup in the dairy production machines. That's disgusting to me because they're full of pathogen and needs to be cleared up with aggressive acid cleaners. The fact that every glass of milk has dozens to up to 50 contributions of DNA in them from different individual cows. The fact that meat sometimes contains cysts and tumors. Sometimes they're too small to detect and you just eat that shit. That's disgusting to me because I work with sometimes human pathology and just see that thing in the past on the daily, right? That's disgusting to me. The fact that muscle meat sometimes contains parasites, that's just gross to me. The fact that meat aging is just like literally rot, that's something about that is disgusting. I don't know, maybe it's just me. The fact that meat is electrically stimulated in order to change its biology, to increase rigor mortis, and to change the color of the meat. Just gross to me. One of those things, again, it's just like fraud. And something about the change in the biology of the carcass, just gross to me. The fact that ground meat is a bacteria playground. Yeah. The fact that a single 1 pound package of ground beef can have dozens to up to 1,000 DNA contributions from different cows, different individuals that was slaughtered. The fact that store-bought eggs occasionally have tiny spots of blood from hens just straining, bursting blood vessels in their ovaries. The fact that eggs are literally both period and butt food. It's just gross to me. I don't know, something about shit in my food I just don't like, right? Try to avoid as much as possible. The fact that some of the hens, even in free-range egg production, have necrotic toes. Necrosis is something that spreads throughout the body. Prolapses, that's also is going to be infections that spread throughout the body. And mites, and all of that produces food. That's gross to me. The fact that fish flesh decomposes immediately after the fish has died. The fact that sushi parasites are very common, just gross. I don't know, something about parasites, I just don't want it part of my food. The fact that farmed fish live literally their entire lives in increasing amounts of feces, urine, and blood, just gross, I don't know. They drink that shit, literally. Something about biofilm being on food, just bacterial biofilm, I don't know, just grosses me out, especially in case of lunch meat that you just eat the way it is. You don't heat it up, generally speaking. Gross. The fact that bacon sometimes it has nipples. I mean, they always have nipples. But the people in the processing plants, they usually take care of that for you. Something about me having nipples and then bacon also having nipples, just gross to me, just gross. Processed meat that may contain green meat, disgusting to me. The fact that gelatin comes from boiled skin, tendons, snouts, hides, and bones, just gross. It's a sweet. It shouldn't contain any of that, in my opinion. It's just gross to me. The fact that freeze-dried, slaughter blood, other slaughterhouse leftovers, and sometimes even shit, all are fed to both farmed animals and pets. It's just gross. Don't feed shit to sentient animals. Come on, guys. Oh, well, let's not forget that udders and dicks also, and vaginas, also end up in that pet food and farmed animal food. That's just disgusting. You're feeding dicks to animals. It's just gross. Guys, What are we doing? And finally, poop soup to increase the weight of food. Fraudulent and biologically disgusting. There ends my presentation of the things that I find gross about animal food production. If you have any other things that I have forgotten, I will now address the chat, put them in the chat. There you go. It was a great lecture. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate you. Let me just refresh it one sec. Browser, I think it's this. Oh, no, it doesn't show up for some reason there. I don't know why. That's fine. Actually, I think I can add it. Browser. And then it, maybe it's going to show up. Well, it doesn't matter. Let's just like not. Let's pretend like I can pop up the comments, but that's okay. I can't. That's fine. So let me just, now it's annoying me. So let me just remove it. Yes. So what did I forget? Yes, please like the stream. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know what you think. I see there are a few non-vegans in the chat. Let me know what happens there. Grass-fed beef also ends up in a slaughterhouse, the same slaughterhouse. So I don't know what about that, Albert. I don't know. They still have parasites. In fact, they might have like more parasites because they live outside, they eat outside food. So, you know. And you know, some of that is taken care of for you in the processing plant. But sometimes it just ends up in your food. And I find that physically, mentally, and ethically disgusting. If you don't, I don't know, at least, I don't know, I have nothing to say. Frankly, I have nothing to say. That's just like, this is a presentation of what I find gross, right? Okay. Well, guys, that's all I have planned for today. So thank you, Nilf. That was a good one. I appreciate. I worked hard on this presentation, so thank you. What is that? Does being vegan on a non-vegan account count as a vegan or non-vegan? I'm not sure what's beyond my capability to understand. Anyways, a short one today, but that's okay, guys. I think this presentation just speaks for itself. So, yeah. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I hope this wasn't too revolting to those who don't participate in that anymore. Yeah, and I'll see you next time.